should you take the BCS Foundation Certificate in Business Analysis if you don't have a degree? The short answer is yes. This is BA Stack. We get straight to it. I would say you should take the BCS Foundation Certificate if you don't have a degree. And in fact, I'd go as far as saying, especially if you don't have a degree. Now, the reason is simple. If you don't have a degree, you're competing with all of these people that do for these roles as a BA. Although I would say employers and recruiters and people that are hiring managers are looking less at whether you have a degree or not. Don't get it twisted, degree is still important. And a lot of companies use that as a filter to get the people they want. All a degree is a signal, ultimately, to a recruiter that you are somewhat credible and you can do this job. The fact that it takes 3-4 years is also a good signal that you're likely to stick to something that you're doing. It shows that you're a committed person. What you're trying to do is get the same credibility signals by passing the BCS Foundation Certificate. So you could pass it now and immediately you've got that to add to your CV. And it's going to get you through the filters that these companies are putting in place, but it's also going to give you some sort of credibility. I would go as far as to say after you get the foundation certificate, I'd say I was a business analyst, because that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to signal to the people that are hiring for these roles that you can do the job. And the BCS Foundation Certificate is highly credible. It's respected by all of these institutions from Barclays to whoever you want to name. People see it as a credible certification. What passing the BCS Foundation Certificate is going to do for you, especially if you don't have a degree, is give you leverage. You don't have as much to put on your CV as Peter and Paul over here. So what you can do is put this on your CV and say, look, I may not have a degree, but I've passed the BCS Foundation Certificate. I just passed it. This isn't information I studied 4 or 5 years ago that I've forgotten. I'm all about continuous improvement, and I thought the foundation certificate would be a good way to make up for it. And before you say, who is this guy? He's just trying to sell his exam prep materials for the foundation certificate. Who is he to say it's worth it to get the foundation certificate if you don't have a degree? I was the guy who was working in a warehouse without a degree. Full disclosure, I did go to uni, but I never graduated. That's a whole nother story. But I was the guy that didn't have a degree, got the BCS cert, got the foundation certificate. That was like my first leg up. It allowed me to feel confident talking about a lot of these concepts and frameworks to people. And I could use what I learned by taking the foundation certificate and use that to transform some of the work I'd done previously by just putting it in business analysis terms. But the only reason I was able to do that is because I took the foundation in the first place. So firstly, you've got credibility because it's a well-respected certification. On top of that, you can use the knowledge that you've gained from taking this. It's not just a shiny object. It is actually valuable. You learn a lot by doing the foundation, and you can take what you've learned, apply it to work you've done previously. So when you get in an interview, you're not just sat there regurgitating the textbook. What it does is it levels the playing field for entry-level BA roles. Everyone's going to be coming with a degree. A lot of people anyway. But those with the degree, a lot of them are going to think that's enough to get them in the room. However, a lot of these companies are looking for people that have business analysis knowledge. Even if they're not asking for the certificate specifically, they want to know that you know this stuff, you know these frameworks. So by having that cert, you put yourself in a good position. Look at it like this. If a guy comes in that has a degree holder, he sounds great, he did well in the interview. However, his knowledge around some of the specifics about business analysis, the business analysis framework, wasn't really there. Then another guy comes in. Now, he doesn't have a degree, but everything he's saying in this interview is business analysis specific. Put yourself in that position. Remember, you're hiring for a BA now. Who are you going to choose? The guy who has some a degree on his wall, but ultimately doesn't really know what this job entails, hasn't really shown me that he understands and he can do the job. Let me backtrack. The degree holder probably can do the job. He has the aptitude to do it. However, it would require teaching him how to do it. And we may not have the resource to do that. This guy doesn't have a degree. However, he's up to date with what business analysis looks like in 2026. All we need to do is bring him into our company, teach him our processes and what we do specifically, and he should be good to go. But the only way you're going to get that across is by doing the cert and by taking what you've learnt by doing it and bringing that forward when it's time to do your interview. All of these people are applying for these very few roles. Obviously, there's more people than there are actual jobs. So what are you going to do to stand out? I always say, if you're someone that doesn't have a degree and doesn't have business analysis experience, you have to do a lot more than other people are doing. So one of those things you can do that is more is getting the foundation, getting another cert, getting maybe a Scrum Master or Agile certification. You just have to keep doing more. So when your CV comes through to these people, to these hiring managers, they're looking at it like, wow, okay, foundation certificate. He's not really done any specific business analysis work, but I can tell from his CV, he's speaking and thinking in business analyst terms. He's worked on this project outside of getting the certificate. He was able to increase X by Y%. These kind of things. All you're doing is giving yourself more leverage. So when it comes time to get into those interviews, firstly, another reason why you should get the foundation certificate is because it gets you past initial screening. They may not tell you, they may not say on the actual job posting they're looking for people with the foundation certificate, but there's no doubt in my mind that they are going to favor people who have it. It's essentially the gold standard for entry-level BA roles. I think that's fair. I'm just going to keep it real because I always do. Passing the foundation doesn't make you the most business analysis person that's ever analyzed anything in the whole world. It doesn't do that. But what it does is it shows you have a good understanding, a good grasp of the basics. So we've got the basics. What you are now going to do is take what you have on your CV, apply what you've learned so you can show, not only do I understand the basics, I also have applied a lot of these things in my previous roles. That's a recipe for success. And it immediately makes a huge, stark contrast between the guy that has this experience and the foundation certificate and a guy that's just got a degree. The guy that got a degree can do anything. He could do any job, really. That's what they were telling us when we were younger. Get a degree, it's fine. You'll get a job. It's like guaranteed job. The actual job, though, and the actual job market has changed a lot since then. Companies are willing to take risks on people who may not be university educated because ultimately they want people that know how to do the job. And that's probably what I'll end on. I've told you, and I'll say it again, the days of get the cert, apply for jobs, get the job, it's over. I pray you're the lucky person that works for. But if I'm giving you advice, real, tangible advice, no fluff, no filler, get the foundation, whether you have a degree or not. Even if you have a degree, but I'm speaking to people like me that don't have degrees. Get the foundation certificate, get another certificate after, and build something, work on something, put your skills to use. All of this is going to come in very handy when it's time for you to start applying for jobs. You'll have something to talk about, and it's going to be something really interesting compared to the boring nonsense everyone else is talking about. If you are studying for the BCS Foundation exam, I have a free readiness quiz on my website. It's 10 questions. It takes about 5 or 6 minutes, and it will tell you how ready you are for the exam and where your gaps are, so which areas you need to tighten up on. That's it for now. See ya. Would I want to be ya? bastack.com.